Alright, let's get started with Chapter 2 of Rebuild World. Alpha lets Akira know that that was the last of the weapon dogs and he can come out now. Akira thinks to himself while looking at Alpha. Augmented reality, a ghost of the old world. Can I really take this commission and work with this incorporeal being known as Alpha? Alpha then teleports to Akira and says, "Anyway, do you want to keep searching or head back?" Akira tells Alpha, "I'll keep looking. I can't go back home before I found a relic." Alpha says, "Okay, wouldn't you mind if we went to a place where things are a bit more dangerous than here, though? Would you?" Akira winces in pain thinking about what's to come. Alpha reassures Akira by saying, "As long as I show you the way, you'll be fine. Assuming you follow my instructions, of course." And the two head out to find relics. Alpha and Akira are in a sticky situation. Alpha's telling Akira what to do, giving him precise instructions, like take cover, don't move, and stay there for 30 seconds. Run, back against the wall, and advance slowly, as they make their way towards their new relic. Akira has to crawl, run, have his back against the wall, and advance slowly. He even wonders, didn't we just pass through here? He even has to squeeze through tight spots. And after all of that pain, all of that progress, he has to now go back down that same path again. And like a normal human being, Akira asks Alpha, "If you were just going to tell me to go back, why did you ask me to go through there to begin with?" Alpha replies with, "We simply went through there to circumvent a dangerous path, and that he now has to go back." And Akira goes back, and he notices, yeah, there isn't anything here. But looks can be deceiving. Alpha then yells, "Head back immediately. Something's there. Something that was invisible. And it's big." And we get a shot of it. It's a giant mech with what looks like missile pods on its shoulders and a giant eye staring down at Akira. Akira looks up in fear at the giant mech. The giant mech then proceeds to unload all of its missiles, and those missiles proceed to bombard the entire area that Akira is in. The missiles explode, sending Akira flying. Seriously, how is this kid this lucky? I think being that close to missiles would maybe not, even if it doesn't evaporate you, wouldn't it basically destroy your insides? I don't know. Debris goes flying everywhere. That giant mech stands over the giant gaping hole, looking down, searching for Akira. But Akira is nowhere to be found. The mech then recloaks. We find Akira on the floor with something protruding through his stomach. He gets up but winces in pain. And that pain is so bad, the only thing he can do is hunch over and cry out in pain. And then we learn that it wasn't luck. Alpha had hacked into the guidance system of those missiles just now, and it would have been the end of Akira. But she says still, it's a miracle you're alive. Alpha explains, this is an extremely dangerous area, patrolled by automatons with high-tech optical distortion camouflage. If you are unsatisfied with my directions, why didn't you say so? Akira apologizes, and Alpha says, "Show me your wound." Akira flinches in pain. Alpha says, "That looks bad. We can't leave you in this state for long." Alpha tells Akira, "You had a hard time trusting me. We just met. I get it, but if you died here, Akira, I would be in big trouble too, you know. And that's why I'm in fact doing my utmost to keep you alive. And to please believe her on at least that much." Akira says, "There's no way I could become a strong hunter like this, huh?" And Alpha lets him know that if he just signed the contract, he could. And she says, "As long as you can find in yourself the strength and will enter the contract, I swear, I will take care of the rest." Akira remembers the promise that he made to himself, that he promised he would become a hunter and climb out of the slums on his own. If I can at least do that, then what can I do? He then begins to stand. It's painful, but he does stand. And he says, while barely standing, "Somehow, I will find the strength to do it." Alpha asks Akira, "Can you walk?" "I've got an idea. Let's continue deeper into the ruins." As they go deeper, they find a hangar of the giant robots that Akira barely got away from. But luckily, they find a relic. Even more luckily, this is an old relic that has healing properties. Alpha then walks Akira on how to do it. He has to take 10 capsules, grind some up, and then rub them in his open wounds. And he does just that, and is rewarded with excruciating pain. He's barely holding on. The pain overwhelmed him, causing him to pass out. But he regains consciousness, and the first thing he sees when he opens his eyes is Alpha, asking him, "Did he sleep well?" Akira reacts by drawing his weapon. Alpha replies with, "Oh my, did I scare you?" Akira apologizes and says sorry about that. Waking up to finding somebody looking down at you usually means you're getting robbed from where I'm from. Alpha replies with, "Don't worry about it. How are your wounds?" Akira says, "Yeah, now that you mentioned it, my wounds don't hurt anymore. They're already healed." Akira mentions the medicine they made in the old world is really amazing. Alpha says, "Well then, let's head out and look for more relics." While searching for relics, Alpha tells Akira not to overdo it, and to remember you have to carry everything back past the patrols. They begin to finish up their search, and they find a combat knife, and maybe they'll be able to find a use for the knife. Akira mentions, "Doesn't feel like it's a combat knife." Alpha says, "Come on, let's head back for today." Alpha and Akira walk through the crowded streets, and Akira mentions, "Wow, people really can't see you, huh?" That it feels strange for a woman in such a flashy outfit to not draw any attention at all. Alpha reminds Akira that on that note, remember, people can't hear my voice either, so it actually looks like you're talking to yourself right now. And we get a better look at the slum town. People hunched over in hunger, fighting each other for scraps of food. While walking through this area, Akira clutches his prize so no one can take it from him. They arrive at the Relic Exchange. It's administered by the Hunter's office. And Akira wonders how much they'll give him for this. Maybe $10,000, maybe $50,000? And we see the interior of the Relic Exchange office. It's quite nice, marbled floor, and a giant crowd of hunters looking tough walking around. And sadly, he drops 3 coins on the table. It's $300. And Akira says, "I bring a relic like that? For what, this? Are you kidding me? This is barely enough to pay for a meal." And the prick behind the counter says, "If you got a problem with it, then take that hunter's license and try somewhere else, Ajira." And one of the hunters standing behind him says, "Ho ho, why don't you just get out of here, kid?" Akira then foolishly reaches for his weapon, but he's in a hunter's office. It's full of hunters who are armed to the teeth. That's like trying to rob a gun store. Alpha stops Akira from making a foolish mistake by telling him, "You can't do that, Akira." Akira then leaves his weapon alone. And the prick behind the counter breaks it down for Akira. "You know, I would like to give you a piece of my mind. A first-rank hunter with no reputation or achievements will receive $300, regardless of value. That is the law. And that he should show some gratitude, and that they have no idea what it does. It could be trash for all they know, and it will take at least a day for them to process and estimate the value of his relic. And that after evaluation, they'll come up with a figure, which he'll be paid to in additional to the payment that he received for their next sale. So get out of here and find something else for them to sell." Well, I say that, but most people don't make it back a second time. Akira tells him, "I'll be back, even if I have to crawl." And Akira looks up at the prick, with hunger and anger in his eyes, and he tells him, "I swear it." And as Akira leaves, the guy behind the counter cracks a smile, but it's not one of evil, it's more of hopefulness. Maybe he's not a bad guy after all. He says, "Ah well, be careful out there." And that is the end of another chapter, chapter 2 to be more specific. Thank you so much for making it to the end with me. Please do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe. It'll really and truly help the video out and help the channel grow. Velvet out.